What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined as always by my dad Sean, and today, reactions to the classics. We are reviewing Dennis Wilson's kind of cult-like status record, Pacific Ocean Blue, and I know this is near and dear to the person that suggested it to us, one of his favorite records of all time, our patron, longtime supporter and friend of the channel, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. It's
always appreciated, man, and this has a lot of unique and interesting kind of tidbits to it. So I was excited to dive into this, and we'll hit it track by track and get some quick facts going. But before we do that, a little housekeeping. If you like this video, be sure to give it that thumbs up, hit that big red subscribe button, and if you'd like to have us do something for you here at the channel or support us in any way, check out our Patreon page down below. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitch as well. Great music community, and we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. But all that to say, Dad, I guess let's get into these quick facts.
Yeah, I don't know how quick they're going to be, but that's what we call them, so we'll go with that. Only album ever to be released by Dennis. It was released in August of 1977. He sort of started recording it in 1974, but the bulk of it was the fall of 76 into the spring of 77. He was working on another album, Bamboo, which he said was going to be far better than this, but he was never able to finish before he tragically died in 1983. The vocals on this are dubbed as, he was hard living by this point. He had a lot of issues. And they said partly it affected his looks, but it really affected his voice. Everything I read said, it made his voice kind of rough and grainy. But I think there's a lot of vocal treatment throughout this album because I didn't hear that in his voice. I thought he sounded fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
They were going to do a little modest tour. The record company was going to back a little tour to promote this thing. But they called it unprofessional behavior. He's having a lot of substance abuse problems. They canceled that tour, never pushed this thing. There were 2 singles released off of this album, but neither one of them even hit the Hot 100. But the critics loved the album back then, and as you said at the start, cult-like status. Now this album is just held up in very, very high regard.
No, definitely. And talking about that chart success, it only peaked at 96 on the charts. So yeah, that was another reason they were like, let's just pull this whole tour out and whatnot. And yeah, as the years have gone on, people have really kind of seen, oh man, this record actually is really, really good.
Right.
And speaking of that cult-like status, it was released on CD in 1991, but due to some kind of copyright disagreements between the record companies and just everything, after a year they stopped, printing out anymore. So thus, for 15 years, you couldn't get the CD unless you forked over $200.
$200 on eBay, baby.
So that's kind of interesting. So then they reissued it and had a couple other little tidbits in there. They released the track "Holy Man,"
right?
And that doesn't appear on the traditional record, but on the reissue they added some more tracks and whatnot. They had Taylor Hawkins come in of Foo Fighters fame, and they used the same instrumental. Had him lay down the vocals though, and they even had Brian May and Roger Taylor kind of appear, but their contributions weren't felt until the 2019 Record Store Day release of the single "Holy Man." Just wanted to get that out of the way because I thought that was kind of
I think that's really cool. One thing I didn't mention on the sales, even though it only went to number 96, it still was outselling the Beach Boys albums at the time, so I thought that was cool. And the producer of this album, Greg Jacobson, said this was when he fully accepted himself as an artist. Brian had shown him chords on the piano, but as he'd become more proficient, the music that came forth was not derivative of that. Having his own studio helped tremendously. With little encouragement and the right tools, Dennis took off because he did this at the Beach Boys' own Brother Studios. And despite missing the UK album chart on its original 1977 release, the expanded reissue, Trey, you were talking about, went to number 16 in the UK and went to number 5 in Norway. I don't know what the significance of Norway is. Maybe they love the Beach Boys, but that's some of the quick facts. But we're going to have a lot of facts throughout some of these songs, Trey. So let's kick this thing off.
That's right.
With River Song.
And this one is powerful way to start off
the record.
Is. I think it's one of the better tracks on here.
Agreed.
And the highlight here, the whole album, but especially this track, is very atmospheric, almost cinematic.
I agree. That's a great way of putting it.
And Dennis here plays all the keyboards throughout this record. If you look at the kind of personnel and the credits, Dennis does so much on here, from the ARP synthesizer to, of course, the drums, to the keyboards, to even some some guitar here. There's a bunch of other instruments as well that he jumps on. So impressive to note there. And as the title suggests, he was inspired by a river, you know?
Yeah, and this was written by Dennis and his younger brother, Carl Wilson. Released as a single in Europe, failed to chart. The lyrics are comparing the conditions in LA to the High Sierras, the place where Dennis had been inspired by that river you talked about. The lyric tells how Dennis was born in the city, has always lived there, he's become sick of the overcrowding and pollution, and now is just, quote, looking for some country life. Referring to LA, Dennis has been quoted as saying, "It just makes me sick to think of what's happening here." Has a great choir backing performed by Alexander Hamilton's Double Rock Baptist Choir. Carl is also featured in the mix singing backing vocals with the choir. So Trey, if he was sick of all that pollution and everything going on in 1976 when he probably recorded this, wow, he'd be real sad right now in 2021.
No, I thought this song was great, and it is cool because the keyboards are an obvious highlight instrumentally here.
Agreed.
The opening riff even has its origins back to a recording session they did in 1970, so that just kind of tells you, just since this record did take so long to come together, you're getting some stuff from years and years of Dennis's kind of musical journey, so that it kind of blends and works together, and it really reflects almost that river flowing, wanting to get away from the wild city life, but can we do that? I don't know. And Dennis at the end notes that you got to run away. I thought it was a great opener.
I did too. I definitely did. Also, one of my standouts on here. We're going to go to What's Wrong. We're basically in the lyrics. He wants to play his rock and roll, and he wants to tell her bye while she's spending his money.
Now, for as great as the opener was, I think this is my least favorite track on the album.
Got a lot of horns. Definitely sounds different, man, than that opener for sure.
Yeah, and it just didn't have much lyrical and you mentioned it had a good horn section, but even musical depth.
No, it had, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of some Beach Boys. So it had kind of that backing Beach Boys vocal sound. Not the Pet Sound Beach Boys, the kind of what I think of as, some of the other Beach Boys, Mike Love, who we'll get to in a little while, that kind of stuff in there, that kind of influence.
No, so a bit of a misfire here, but it is a pretty short track.
It is.
My least favorite, and hey, we got it out of the way early.
True.
And then we go next to Moonshine, which is a really solid record. And that grand sound that River Song had returns to great effect here. Dennis is conveying that heartbreak when someone doesn't love you like that anymore, noting it was you who said there won't be tomorrow. You said you love me now in another way. And at the end we have some layered vocals coming in saying gone away. I just thought this one was a real kind of underrated big hit for me.
Yeah, you pretty much covered all of it there. It's the atmosphere, just a really nice atmosphere, which is going to be a recurring theme on this. Now we're going to go to the next track, Friday Night. It's talking about rock and roll. Come on, brother, play your guitar. A nice build in that intro, Trey. Guitar's really good. And some nice keys in here. It's an enjoyable track. Once again, the atmosphere of it.
Yeah, it started off almost like a 70s Pink Floyd vibe.
Yeah, it did.
In the opener there. And just, as you mentioned, with even the music and the lyrics kind of made me think of a film like Outsiders or American Graffiti. We're all getting ready to go out on a Saturday night, or Friday night rather, and
whatever.
And, go to try find love, even if you're going to strike out like the protagonist in this song did. But hey, man, there's always next Friday night.
There's always next Friday night
to go and get it. Not a favorite on here, but it was solid.
Yeah, I felt the same way about it. We're going to go on to Dreamer. And before we do that, I just want to say that is the thing on this album. While it all has a nice kind of overlying atmosphere to it, the musical diversity on here of styles is quite a bit.
No, I
think it's because it's recorded over such a long period of time or written over a long period of time. Just kind of want to get that in because you're going to hear that as a recurring thing. So now, as I said, on to Dreamer. It was written by Dennis and his close friend and producer Greg Jacobson. According to Dennis from an interview in '77, he played bass harmonica on the track as well as practically everything else on the track except for, ironically, Trey, the drums. He also stated that the song was, quote, about Christ. Christ seems right on with me, Trey, of what it was about, because the first line of A Carpenter with a Dream, lines such as Dreamer, who said it would be easy, and the band kept on playing. And Trey, that bass harmonica, is that what you think that was at the start?
Yeah,
it was a different kind of a sound for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to rack rack my brain. I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard a bass harmonica in here, but it worked and blended well with the sporadic horn sections we had. And then midway through, they stripped that all back, go to a gorgeous piano, talking about letting the wind carry you away. So again, kind of a lot of this record, the lyrics or the music is kind of reflecting what the lyrics are talking about.
A nice little bluesy guitar thrown in there a little bit. I think some decent little vocal treatments in there, especially on this song at times.
No, man. So this was all in all, I think a really again solid production on this track as a whole.
I agree. And now we're going to finish out side one with Thoughts of You.
Ooh, and this one we were already familiar with. This was, I think, the first song from Dennis that Josh ever brought to us on a live stream. And man, I think for me, his best vocal performance. Oh yeah,
piano stripped back, great build in the middle. She's gone. And he's missing her, and he's lamenting that. I mean, that's pretty much...
Well, there's a sense that of a melancholy that just kind of threads through this entire record.
There is.
And it's definitely felt, I think, the most here as we kind of reach the middle of the record.
Right.
And just his vocal performance really is able to convey that sadness.
Almost pain, but he says in there basically that, everything that lives must die, even love.
Yeah, man, that's kind of a philosophical, kind of deeper track on this record, man. And yeah, it hits. It still hits you in the gut, even after you've heard it a lot of times.
It really does. So now we're going to kick off side two with Time. And on the second verse of this, he says, I'm the kind of guy who loves to mess around. Know a lot of women, but they don't fill my heart with love. Completely free. Oh, I love you. I really do. This repeats 7 times to end the song. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Take me there. Nice horns in the middle. You can feel his emotion in the vocals. The last minute really goes in on the horns. Really loud, which has stood out for me on this record.
No, I noticed that too. It's almost like the vocals took a back seat. We had a really cool guitar lead at the end come in. That saxophone and piano working together earlier on in the track. And yeah, just kind of as you mentioned, Dad, thinking about his love and going through that. Man, mid-70s, people love to have tracks called Time. We of course have Pink Floyd. Yeah. We have Bowie had a track called Time on Aladdin. Zayn, Dennis coming in with Time here, and all good tracks, man. And this one's no different.
Now we're going to go to You and I, written by Dennis and his former wife Karen Lamb Wilson, and of course Greg Jacobson. Releases a single in the U.S., failed to chart. According to Dennis, the song is about Karen and myself. That's it. Says he'll never be rich. He doesn't care because he has her, and the songs he sings will never be blue because of it. Some nice lyricism here. Nice chilled atmosphere. And I think, the message is good. You don't need all that money, boys and girls.
Yeah.
You just need the girl.
Well, I like that kind of change of pace because it starts off a really sad opening lyric here. I've never seen the light that people talk about. I mean, just what a way to start the track. But then he comes across as a man that is content.
Right.
He knows, maybe I'm not going to be a megastar. Maybe I'm not going to be all rich, or kind of what you were noting, Dad. But through all it, he mentions Jesus again, and it just comes through as a guy who's going to be sitting where he's at in life and just taking it day by day. And
exactly,
if you got the one you love, man, you can get through it.
You can overcome anything, or that's what they tell us. So now let's go on to the title track, Pacific Ocean Blues, written by Dennis. And what are you thinking, Dennis? What are you thinking? And Mike Love. Dennis actually said about this track at the time this album was released, it was his least favorite because it somehow felt incomplete to him.
And it's interesting because this really kind of fits the title, Pacific Ocean Blue.
It does.
Because we have almost like some aquatic effects in here, almost like he's underwater at certain points on the vocals and whatnot. I didn't hate the track.
I didn't hate the track.
It's not one of my favorites, but it is.
Me neither.
It is interesting whenever we read, Dad, what the artist thought, I really love this song, or I wasn't feeling this one.
Right, because some artists won't even come out and tell you that because they don't want to influence you. They want to hope that you love them all. Now, a backing track of this was reportedly recorded by late 75 and was Dennis's only submission for the Beach Boys' 1976 album, 15 Big Ones, though it was turned down by the band. Yeah, Trey, it even mentions the killing of otter and whale, and no wonder the Pacific Ocean is blue. His vocals are really mixed to the front in this one. Now, it is harder edge musically, yet I can really feel that Mike Love, Beach Boys influence on it, and I'm not a huge fan of that.
No.
Or maybe I just think I can because I know the man co-wrote it. I don't know. Now we're going to a very powerful track. It was actually played at Dennis's funeral, Farewell, My Friend.
And this is one that would be, not out of place at any funeral played.
No,
just
it wouldn't be.
As the title suggests, really just saying farewell, my friend, you know, had the oohs and ahs in the background that worked well. You even had Dennis on playing a really solid lap steel guitar.
Yes.
Again, showing that diversity in his instruments that he can play. And man, it's a short tune, but it again packs an emotional punch here. And you know, just get you thinking of people you may have lost in life, you know.
And you made a good point there. Short. This is one of them that I actually wish they would have run with, a little bit longer. I'm like, oh wow, that's already over. This is another one that was released in Europe, failed to chart. Features vocals from Carl as well. Was written as a tribute to Otto Hinch, the father of Billy Hinch and father-in-law of Dennis's brother Carl. Dennis wrote this tribute to Otto as he had died in Dennis's arms. Dennis described the song as sort of a happy farewell, and that's going to take us to Rainbows. In this, he's just telling her he loves her, why he loves her, kind of builds into nature, into that rainbows motif a little bit. Pretty good.
No, man, this is one that was a bit comforting, you know, especially maybe coming off of Farewell,
my friend, yeah.
And the booming drum performance welcoming the sun to shine on him and his love for his gal here. Just one that almost puts a smile on your face, which with a track called Rainbows, it fits. All these kind of fit their titles and whatnot.
They really do.
Like too.
Well, Trey, we didn't even talk about it. You teed me up perfectly because the last song is called End of the Show. So what a perfect closer. I really like the atmosphere on this. It was a very well chosen closer. Just because of that, we talked about, you know, this almost, I want to say chilled in a way, atmosphere that runs throughout this album. And this song is kind of the epitome of that.
No, definitely. For a record that's very grand at times, very cinematic, as I was already mentioning, this feels like the perfect closer, like in credits almost. You even have a sound effects with the crowd cheering, which I thought was pretty tight. And really, Dennis just kind of musing almost like... not eerie in a sense, but it's almost like he knew this was going to be the end for him.
I know, that's what I thought too. Right? It's kind of crazy that was the last track that came out in his lifetime.
Yeah, and he recognizes, hey, this is the end for me, but hey, I still got my love, this or that, and it again, just as you mentioned, that really great production on this, which fits with what this album had up to this point.
Of course. So that's going to bring us to our favorites. I'm going to have the opener, River Song.
Yeah, that's going to be one of mine.
I'm going to have Thoughts of You and Farewell, My Friend.
Yeah, I'm going to add Rainbows, actually, to that as well, man, because I thought that was, just a little underrated tune there that hit you. But a lot of solid tunes on here, man.
Definitely.
And that'll take us to our overall score of the record. And for me, 12 tracks in the mid-30s on runtime. I've enjoyed that.
I did too.
Nothing seemed to overstay its welcome.
No.
I mean, most songs were in that mid-2s to mid-3s on runtime, and just a lot of great production, as we've already mentioned. Very relaxing record with that hint of sadness just going all the way through. So I enjoyed this one quite a bit, man, and so I'm going to be at an 8.0.
Okay. I share a lot of your thoughts. Yeah, I think this is one of those albums. I can see why Josh likes it so much, because you could just throw this on at any time, listen to it front to back. The lyrics aren't challenging. I mean, they're pretty simplistic lyrically when you go through the lyrics. That's not a bad thing. So you can just put it on, chill to it, be doing some stuff. So I can see me revisiting this album quite a bit. And I think, this thing, obviously, it has gained support over the years. I think that's a great thing, because Dennis really was talented. I do really enjoy this, and what a thing to bring or to leave behind. And there are, if you go on Spotify, for example, they combine this album with the tracks from Bamboo.
Yeah.
So
A lot of good ones in that, too.
I encourage you to go listen to that. But all that to say, for me, I'm going to be at an 8.25 on this one.
No, man, I want to shout out Josh again, man, for suggesting this one to us.
Definitely.
I know this has been on his radar for a bit, and I'm glad we finally got a chance to tackle it track by track. We want to know your thoughts on Pacific Ocean Blue down below. Let us know your favorite tracks on it, what you're vibing with Dennis Wilson here. As always, Ed, appreciate the research, especially for this record.
Yeah, I felt a lot of pressure, man, because that's one of Josh's favorites. Hopefully I brought something you didn't know, Josh.
And until next time, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.